Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to talk about multiplying numbers in scientific notation, so let's get right to it. All right, we have two numbers that we're multiplying in scientific notation, and we want our answer in scientific notation. We could go through the process of converting it. So what that means is I'm going to find my decimal here at the 3, and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times to the left because it's negative. So I get 0.00003 times, and here I'm going to find my decimal, go 1, 2 to the left, and 0.05. Now for this, I'm going to go ahead and bring out my calculator. And I get 0.00003 times 0.05. And I'm going to get 0. Blah, blah, blah. All right, so here I can go ahead and count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to need to move that decimal 6 times because I need a number between 1 and 10, and 1.5 will do. I'm going to need to move it 6 times, but I need to make the number small so it's negative. That's a really horrible exponent, but you get the idea that, maybe not. Let me be a little bit better. And then I end up with 1.5. And so here we're able to write it all out, put it in our calculator, get an answer, and hopefully follow on the screen how many times we move over, which direction we moved over, and things like that. Did we make it bigger? Did we make it smaller? Now, we can do all that, and there's my answer. I'm going to leave that up there as long as I can. Or we can understand that 3 times 10 to the negative 5th times 5 times 10 to the negative squared. All we have to do is look at this through the eyes of the associative property and commutative property. Those two are really going to allow us to do some really fun things. What that means is the commutative property, the associative property means I don't need these parentheses to be there because I've already done all the math that's inside of them. That's number one. Then the commutative property actually says I can move these however I want to. Now 3 and 5 easily multiply together. So I'm going to move those, and I'm keeping the multiplication in between. Now here I'm still multiplying, and then I have 10 to the negative 5th and 10 to the negative 2. If I remember correctly, if my bases are the same, I'm going to go ahead and add my exponents. So that means my base is the same, so I'm going to keep it, and I add the exponents. And then just 3 times 5, well, that's 15. I'm still multiplying there. So then I get 15 times 10 to the negative 7th. I've got a little bit of a problem here because this number is not between 1 and 10, including 1. So I'm going to move my decimal 1 time to the left. Well, that's the same thing as adding 1. So then I get an answer of 1.5 times 10 to the negative 6th, and I have my final answer. So while I did get it over here, I look at this as a lot less messy. And if I'm doing it by hand, this is a lot neater. This is a lot more organized. This is actually a lot quicker, because if I was doing this by hand, I would have actually written out the 0.00003 times 0.05. Oh, I put that 0 in the wrong place. And then I would have had 0.1, 2, 3, 4. Oh my goodness. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then 15. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I knew I missed a 0 in there. There's my 5 zeros, and then 15. And then I gotta sit here and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I get 1.5 times 10. And that was to the -6. Because I 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I'm making it smaller, so I have that -6 times, and that's how I got my answer there. I just did all that in the calculator, so we got to remember how we're getting these numbers, what's going to make it easier and what's not. So depending on what you're doing, depending on how much time you have, either way is going to work for you. You can use either method to get into scientific notation as your answer. I prefer learning this because, again, it's a lot neater on the paper as you're doing it by hand. If you're doing it on a calculator, let's be honest, most of the time once you have it in a calculator, you're just going to punch it in calculator once you have a scientific calculator or above. So this is more of just learning how to do it so you know how the calculator is doing it in case you ever need to do it by hand or think about it at least. This is more about thought process than it is actually solving process. Now go ahead and pause the video and copy what is on your screen into your notebook. Now that you're back, anytime you have to rewatch the video for clarity or to remember something, you need to write what you picked up into your notes. Use arrows, circles, shapes, pictures, whatever you need to, but add it to your notes to make them yours. Last, ladies and gentlemen, remember we are learning, and it's about understanding the process, not about finding an answer. We'll see you tomorrow.